You probably think off-road vehicles have to be big, loud, and massive to be capable. Huge tires, giant engines, something that looks like it escaped a military base. But what if I told you some of the toughest off-road machines ever built are so small, you could almost mistake them for toys? And yet they climb mountains, crawl through mud, and go places full-size trucks can't. Today, you're about to discover the smallest off-road vehicles you didn't even know existed. And trust me, by the end of this video, your idea of what capable really means will never be the same. Let's start with a vehicle that looks like it belongs in a kid's cartoon, but was built with deadly serious intent. In the 1950s, the British military needed something light enough to be dropped by parachute, small enough to hide behind bushes, and tough enough to survive war zones. The result was the Minimo. At first glance, it looks almost silly. Tiny wheels, barely any doors, no roof. But this little machine was designed to go where larger vehicles simply couldn't. It used front-wheel drive, a super low center of gravity, and lightweight construction to crawl over terrain that would stop heavier trucks in their tracks. The irony is, the military rejected it for being too low to the ground. But civilians loved it. Farmers, beach patrols, and off-road enthusiasts realized this tiny thing could go places Jeeps struggled with. Today, restored Minimokes sell for shocking prices, and collectors chase them worldwide. Small, underestimated, and stubbornly capable. And that's just the beginning. Now, if that surprised you, wait until you hear about a vehicle that looks like a shoebox on wheels. In post-war Japan, roads were narrow, budgets were tight, and space was limited. That's when Suzuki created the LAJ-10, one of the smallest true off-road vehicles ever sold to the public. This thing was shorter than most couches. It weighed less than some motorcycles. But underneath, it had real four-wheel drive, solid axles, and low-range gearing. Hunters used it to reach remote mountains. Forestry workers drove it through mud and snow. And somehow, this tiny box just kept going. It wasn't fast. It wasn't comfortable. But it was unstoppable. This vehicle laid the foundation for what would later become the Suzuki Jimny, now famous worldwide. And here's the crazy part. In tight trails, this little machine could outperform full-size trucks simply because it could fit where they couldn't. Sometimes, smaller really is better. But let's take things even further down the size scale. Imagine an off-road vehicle so small that you could load it into the back of another truck. That's exactly what the Steyr-Puch Haflinger was designed for. Built in Austria in the late 1950s, the Haflinger was named after a mountain horse known for strength and endurance. And the name fits perfectly. The vehicle had portal axles, locking differentials, and an air-cooled engine mounted in the rear. It only had about 24 horsepower, which sounds laughable. But because it weighed almost nothing, it could climb slopes that made grown men nervous. Militaries, mountain rescue teams, and farmers all relied on it. Watching one drive up near vertical trails feels like watching a mechanical insect defy gravity. Even today, off-road experts are shocked by what this tiny vehicle can do. And once you see it in action, you'll never laugh at its size again. Now here's where things start to get weird. In the 1960s, engineers asked a dangerous question. What if an off-road vehicle didn't need to be wide at all? What if it could go through forests without clearing a single tree? The answer was the Roken Trailbreaker. This isn't even a car. It's a two-wheel drive motorcycle. Yes, two-wheel drive. Both wheels are powered. The tires are hollow and can float on water. You can literally ride this thing across rivers. Hunters use it to haul heavy loads deep into the wilderness. The military tested it because it could be carried by soldiers and deployed anywhere. It looks simple, almost primitive, but it can crawl through terrain that would trap a TVs and side-by-sides. The Trailbreaker proves that off-road ability isn't about size or speed. It's about clever engineering. If you think that's small, brace yourself. In the Soviet Union, engineers built something that looks like a remote-controlled toy but functions like a tank. The LUAZ 967 was an amphibious off-road vehicle designed to evacuate wounded soldiers from the battlefield. It sat extremely low to avoid enemy fire. It could be driven while crawling, literally crawling. The steering wheel folded down so the driver could lie flat. It floated across water using its wheels for propulsion. And it was small enough to hide behind terrain features most vehicles couldn't use for cover. This machine wasn't about comfort. It was about survival. And despite its odd appearance, it was brutally effective. Today, collectors hunt them down, and off-road fans are stunned when they see one still running. Now, let's slow down for a moment. Because if you're like most people, your brain is probably still trying to process how something this small can do so much. And that's the real story here. These vehicles exist because someone challenged the assumption that bigger is better. They were built for tight spaces, limited resources, and extreme environments. And every single one of them proved the same thing. Capability isn't measured in size. It's measured in purpose. But don't get too comfortable yet. Because the next vehicles on this list push the idea of small but unstoppable to an entirely new level. We're talking about machines so compact they look almost unreal. Vehicles that crawl, float, and climb in ways that feel impossible. And one of them was never meant to be seen by the public at all. Before we continue, take a second and think about this. If these tiny machines can outperform trucks that are 10 times their size, what else have we been underestimating? And if you're enjoying this deep dive into the strangest off-road machines ever built, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Because what's coming next might be the most unexpected off-road vehicle you've ever seen. Asterisk, asterisk, now let's keep going. Because the next off-road machine looks like it escaped from a sci-fi movie, but it was built for one simple reason: to go where nothing else could. In the 1960s, deep in Sweden, engineers were dealing with snow so thick and terrain so soft that even tracked vehicles struggled. Their solution was the Volvo BV202. At first glance, it looks tiny, almost fragile. Two small articulated sections connected by a joint. Narrow body, modest engine. But don't let that fool you. This vehicle could float over snow, mud, and marshland without sinking. The secret was low ground pressure. Instead of forcing its way through terrain, it gently rested on top of it. The articulation allowed it to bend around obstacles like a snake. Military units used it to cross frozen lakes and deep wilderness. And even today, off-road experts say few vehicles can match its ability in extreme environments. Small footprint, massive capability. But now, let's talk about something even more unexpected. Imagine an off-road vehicle built not for speed, not for power, but for balance. In the 1970s, Honda shocked the world with the ATC, the three-wheeled all-terrain cycle. This thing was tiny, lightweight, almost playful. But it could climb hills that stopped four-wheeled vehicles dead in their tracks. The fat rear tires provided insane traction. Riders leaned their body weight to control it, becoming part of the machine. Farmers loved them. Adventurers pushed them into forests and deserts. Eventually, safety concerns ended production, but their legacy remains. They proved that off-road ability could come from rider skill and clever design, not just raw size. And then there's a machine that feels almost like a prank. The Fiat Panda 4x4. Yes, the same Panda that looks like a city car, boxy, small, unassuming. But when Fiat added four-wheel drive, something magical happened. Suddenly, this tiny car could climb alpine roads, navigate snowstorms, and reach mountain villages that trucks struggled to access. It became a legend in rural Europe. Shepherds relied on it. Emergency services trusted it. And even today, older Panda 4x4 South are considered nearly indestructible. People laugh until they see one crawling past stuck SUVs. It's a perfect example of how underestimating small vehicles can come back to embarrass you. Now let's go off the road. Entirely, literally, because some of the smallest off-road vehicles don't even care where land ends and water begins. The Amphicar is famous, but far less known is the Gibbs Quadski's smaller cousin, the Argo 8x8 Scout. Compact, lightweight, low profile. This amphibious vehicle uses 8 small wheels to distribute weight evenly. It can roll into a lake and just keep going. Hunters use it to cross swamps. Rescue teams use it in flood zones. It's not fast, it's not flashy, but it goes where nothing else dares. And the best part? It's small enough to fit into spaces larger vehicles can't even approach. But now we're about to cross into truly strange territory, because the next vehicle was built for places humans weren't even meant to be. In the deserts of Australia, miners needed something that could crawl through narrow tunnels and unstable ground. The solution was the Tracked Utility Vehicle, or TUV. These machines were tiny, low to the ground, and built like armored insects. Rubber tracks allowed them to climb rubble and loose earth. They could carry tools, supplies, and sometimes people. You wouldn't want to drive one for fun, but in the environments they were built for, nothing else worked. This is what happens when necessity forces engineers to ignore convention. And here's something most people don't realize. Some of the smallest off-road vehicles ever built weren't meant to be driven at all. They were meant to be carried. The British well bike is a perfect example. It was a tiny folding motorcycle dropped by parachute to soldiers during World War II. It had no suspension, barely any fuel range, but it gave soldiers mobility behind enemy lines. Off-road capability wasn't about comfort. It was about survival. And despite its limitations, the well bike changed how militaries thought about mobility. By now, a pattern should be forming in your mind. These machines exist because the environment demanded them. Snow, mud, forests, mountains, battlefields, places where size becomes a disadvantage instead of a strength. And every time engineers shrank the vehicle, they gained something else: agility, stealth, simplicity. But we're not done shrinking yet, because the next group of off-road vehicles are so small they almost don't feel real. Machines that blur the line between equipment and vehicle. And one of them has been quietly outperforming trucks for decades without anyone noticing. Before we move on, think about this. If you stripped away comfort, luxury, and speed, what would you really need to go anywhere? If this video is changing how you see off-road vehicles, make sure you stay until the end. Because the final machines on this list redefine what small really means. Asterisk. Now we're entering the realm where off-road vehicles stop feeling like cars and start feeling like tools, purpose-built, minimal, almost brutal in their simplicity. One of the best examples is the Honda Big Red three-wheeler. Smaller than a quad, lighter than most dirt bikes, and yet capable of hauling heavy loads across farms and forests. Farmers trusted these machines because they didn't break, they didn't sink, and they didn't quit. Their low gearing and fat tires allowed them to crawl through mud that tractors avoided. They weren't flashy, but they worked. And sometimes that's all that matters. But if you really want to see how far small off-road vehicles can go, look at the Sherp's tiny sibling. Compact tracked vehicles designed for exploration. These machines use massive low-pressure tires and minimal frames. They don't rely on speed. They rely on flotation. Snow, ice, water, mud, sand. It doesn't matter. They just keep moving. And because they're so small, they can turn in place, squeeze between trees, and access places helicopters can't land. Explorers, scientists, and rescue teams rely on them in some of the most hostile environments on Earth. Now let's talk about something that feels almost unbelievable. The Japanese Kai-class off-road trucks. These are legally required to be tiny, narrow, lightweight, low engine displacement. And yet manufacturers like Suzuki and Daihatsu turn them into legitimate off-road machines. Four-wheel drive, low range, locking differentials. These trucks climb mountain roads, deliver supplies to remote villages, and survive abuse that would destroy larger vehicles. They're cheap to run, easy to repair, and insanely capable. In many parts of the world, they're quietly doing the work that big trucks get credit for. And then there's the oddball. That looks like it shouldn't exist at all. The Higlands Bandvane 206, while technically military, its size and design deserve attention. This articulated tracked vehicle can float, climb, and crawl through terrain so extreme that even tanks struggle. Despite its small engines, it can carry heavy loads across snowfields and marshes. It's being used in Antarctica. Think about that. A vehicle small enough to fit on transport planes, operating at the bottom of the world. That's not just off-road capability. That's engineering mastery. But now, let's get even smaller. Personal off-road vehicles designed for one person and a mission. Electric off-road crawlers are becoming more popular, especially in search and rescue. Quiet, compact, zero emissions. These machines can enter collapsed buildings, forests, and narrow trails without disturbing the environment. They represent the future of off-road mobility. Small, smart, and precise. What's fascinating is how these vehicles challenge eco. Big trucks are often about image, noise, presence. But small off-road vehicles are about humility. They don't demand attention. They just work. They go where they're needed and disappear again. And in many cases, they outperform machines that cost 10 times more dough by now. You might be asking yourself why more people don't talk about these vehicles. The answer is simple. They don't look impressive. They don't dominate parking lots. But in the wild, where capability matters more than appearance, they shine dot. And that brings us to the final stretch. Because the smallest off-road vehicles ever built aren't just machines. They're lessons. Proof that constraints create innovation. Proof that limits inspire creativity. And proof that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is shrink. Stick with me, because the final part ties everything together in a way you probably won't expect. Asterisk, so what do all these machines really have in common? It's not horsepower. It's not size. It's not speed. It's intention. Every small off-road vehicle you've heard about today exists because someone needed to solve a very specific problem. A narrow trail, deep snow, a flooded marsh, a battlefield. And instead of making something bigger, they made it smarter. Think about how often we assume bigger is better. Bigger engines, bigger tires, bigger vehicles. But these machines prove something different. When terrain gets extreme, size becomes a weakness. Weight becomes the enemy. Complexity becomes a liability. And that's where these tiny machines thrive. What's even more surprising is where many of them ended up. Some became collector's items. Others evolved into modern vehicles you see every day. Some were forgotten entirely, only to be rediscovered by enthusiasts who understand their value. And a few are still quietly working, doing jobs no one else can. There's something deeply human about these vehicles. They represent adaptation, ingenuity, the refusal to accept limits. They remind us that innovation doesn't always mean more. Sometimes it means less. Less weight, less noise, less waste, more efficiency, more purpose. And here's the final twist. As technology advances, we're coming full circle. Electric motors, lightweight materials, compact designs. The future of off-road mobility looks a lot like its past. Small, quiet, precise, capable. So the next time you see a massive off-road truck struggling on a trail, remember this video. Remember the tiny machines that crawled past it. Remember that strength isn't always loud, and power isn't always big. Now I'm here for you. Which of these vehicles surprised you the most? Would you rather drive a massive truck or a tiny unstoppable machine? And if you could own one of these, which would it be? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because there are thousands of machines out there with stories just as strange, just as fascinating, and just as misunderstood. And until next time, remember this. Sometimes, the smallest vehicles leave the biggest tracks.